What's up, everybody? I'm Ramón Torres, the educator at School Your Brain. What I want to do in today's video is share a book read with you. So here I have this book here, Sun Tzu for Success: How to Use the Art of War to Master Challenges and Accomplish the Important Goals in Your Life by Gerald Michelson. And I love this book. First of all, it's about success. And if you don't know me already, you will eventually, because I'm obsessed with success. And I take whatever books I have, and it's not necessarily an educational book. I read any book I get my hands on. Like in this case, this is a book just for success, for goals in your life, and I apply it to the classroom. So I learn whatever I can from here, take that knowledge, and apply it. And remember, this is important. Because you read something, you have that information in your head, it's not enough. You got to put it into action. That's why I make sure to read the books, take notes, whatever ideas I come across from what I've read, and apply it in the classroom immediately. So hopefully the stuff that I share with you today is going to be something that's going to help you in the classroom as well. So we're going to talk about now they're going to go over the 4 policies in terms of effectively managing your students. And these 4 policies are pretty much ranked from number 1 being the best to 4 being the worst. So in the first one, it says here, the best policy in war, and this is on page 157, by the way, if you decide to get the book. The best policy in war is to attack the enemy's strategy. And it says here, attacking strategy means to win without fighting. So you want to pretty much not attack your students, literally, figuratively speaking. Your goal should be to win without fighting. That's always the goal. Think of even like a martial artist. The last option is to fight. That's what they teach you. Your job is to know how to fight, but that's kind of like your last resort. And same thing with, if it comes to disciplining your students, your goal is not to fight with them. Like a true, I forgot where they mentioned it somewhere in this book, but that's the best way. That's when you win a war without effort, that's the best way. That's the ultimate, winning experience. And it says here, basically, you want to win without fighting. And they give an example, they're saying it's kind of like kill them with the kindness, because it's a psychological tactic. So you're trying to get into their minds. And that's why I try to lead whenever the kids come to school. The first tactic I'm working on is motivation. And, motivation is not just pumping them up, but I try to provide them, with the format, like on my website, School Your Brain. I say 3 things. It's education, inspiration, motivation. The reason why I say those 3 things is because, motivation is the consequence of an education. In other words, the education, receiving an education is the root of motivation. So by providing an education to my students, meaning I inform them, how does learning work? Why is asking questions important? So I pretty much try to build them up. I want them to understand that they have what it takes to learn. And I'm not just filling up their heads just to pump them up like a balloon so it can pop. By the time they leave my classroom, they're just like, I can't do this anymore. I suck. Right? I'm not there to gas them up. My job is to make sure that I educate them. I give them the reality. It's going to be work, but I tell them that it's definitely doable. So my job is, I'm building them up. I need to build them up, and I need them to understand that it's doable, that they can do it despite whatever circumstances or whatever past they think they had, that, they suck at math, especially because I'm a math teacher. I get it all the time. I work on building my students up. So that's kind of what they mean, the psychological tactics to win them over. And that's going to discourage them, right? Because if you're really trying to build them up, you're saying you can do this, and not just, being empty about it. You tell them, I'm going to give you, because it's not about just, just saying, here's a goal and you can do it. Because they talk about, for example, high expectations. You don't want to, high expectations, not just saying, I believe you can do it. No, high expectations is saying, I believe you can do it, and then giving them a roadmap on how they're going to get there. So these are the steps, these are the strategies, these are the tactics you're going to have to do. So you provide them with the necessary resources, which is what we call equitable teaching, right? You make it fair for them to reach that goal. Because we can't just say you're going to, this is my goal for you. I want you to reach this bar, but you don't show them how you're going to do it, right? And that's what we mean by equitable teaching. But that's just another story. Anyways, get off tangent. Let me get back on track here. But, it's psychological. So step 1, you want to basically win them over, okay? And and they mentioned basically that when you do that, it's going to discourage them from opposition, meaning they're less likely to want to fight against you because you're being nice to them, like you're being like a guru, someone that is always positive towards them. Here's the next one. Here's the second best way they say. So it says the second best way is to disrupt your alliances through diplomatic means. And it says diplomatic means is, of course, negotiations. For example, let's sit down and talk. So in my notes, I put down that, when it talks about negotiations is, again, we're talking about like, if you're managing your students, disciplining them, then let's see, it fails with one kid. Then the next option is best after, building the students up. Then you resort to the next option, which is going to be, have a sit down. Like they said, just sit down and talk to the kid. I noticed, such and such in the classroom. What's going on? How can I help? I want you to be successful. Tell me what's going on. So you're trying to basically build a conversation with that particular student, right? That's the next best thing because you're doing a one-on-one now. You're taking your time out of your day to help somebody out. You're reaching out to them. And let me tell you, that works. Even at, like, for example, when I was in college, it's the same thing. I remember one time, the professor pulled me aside. This is for like leadership classes because I have a degree in leadership now. And, he took me out of the class one time. He's like, I want to tell you that I like the way you think. And, you propose things that I haven't even thought about. And this is referring to like, because one time he had on the board, he wrote down, what was it? It was, because he was a former superintendent and he was teaching us about leadership. And he said that on the board one time, not on the board, in the break room, the teachers wrote down like 180 days left. And he was like upset with that because he's like, wow, like it's not, it's only the first day and like already they're upset. So he got mad about it. And then I told him, what, I don't think about it that way. And I said, because I actually did that with my students. And I say, I put the number on the board and I say, I put the word above it, put only 180 days, for example, to make a difference in your students' lives. And, that was the day that he pulled me aside, like, wow, like, I like the way you think, in a positive aspect. And I always give that, props to that, to the fact that I read so much. It gives me lots of ideas and it helps me see things more positive. So you have to fill your mind with a lot of positivity, and that's not going to come unless you learn something new. So that's another reason why I'm obsessed with reading. I want to share that with you. Sorry about getting off topic so much, but I get very passionate about these things and excited. But yeah, so that was the second best way is negotiations. So, when you pull somebody aside, like they're gonna definitely, remember that. All right, here's the next one. Ready? It says the next best method is to attack the army in the field. And remember, this is a war general, so that when they mention it, they're saying it in terms of like wars, but I'm adapting it to the classroom. And this is kind of like what the book is about too. Like they adapted to just success for your life, but I'm just being more specific towards classroom now. And in this case, basically it says what they mean by that is you want like an indirect approach, like he said a blitz. So find some way that you can get some leverage or action, it says, that forces the issue in your favor. So in my notes for this one, I was like, how can I do that? Well, you probably know this tactic already, right? Is calling parents, take away their cell phone, the tensions. That's kind of like the indirect approach of trying to attack, right? Those are your discipline. And I'll probably make a video on this because I have some good strategies for that. So if you do want something like that, hit the like button and make a comment below, like, let me know what kind of specific strategies you want for classroom discipline, because I have a couple here and there that I've picked up along the way. And let's move on to the last one. And this one, it says the worst. So remember, we're going from best to worst. The worst policy is to attack walled cities. Attacking cities is the last resort when there is no alternative. So it's kind of like you're backed up into a corner. You have no other strategy left. You've exhausted 1, 2, and 3. Now you got to go to the worst policy. And keep in mind, too, like, you should always go from the best policy. You don't want to start with step 4. That's a mistake. You don't want to do that. Remember, we're there to help raise student achievement, and the students need to believe that you believe in them. So that's why we have to really start from motivating. Step 1, right? Step 2 is to try to sit down and talk to them if you need to. And then, it kind of gets worse and worse. But reaching out to the parents is like an indirect way to kind of like get the same results, like, express that you're trying to make a difference. But the fourth option, right, is like, that's when, you tried your best to handle it. And now you're at the point where it's like, okay, we have to go to the principal now, talk to the principal, just gets to like those higher consequences. So those are the worst, because like you kick out the kid and it's just not good, right? You don't want to get to that level. So you just want to get started from number one. And I'm not saying you could always avoid it, it's just you want to start from the best policy always. You don't want to start with day one, the kid is late to class and already detention. Like that's not how you build relationships. I do hope that you enjoyed today's video. Please consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and also leave a comment below if you learned anything or this inspires some thought within you, or to any reflecting on your part. Just leave a comment on anything that comes to mind when you watch this video. It definitely, helps me out in terms of like when I see someone, if they like the video, then I just mean, okay, keep making more of this type of content. But this is something I plan to definitely do more of this, because I find it very valuable when I read stuff and all these ideas pop into my mind. So my goal behind these videos is to hopefully inspire some ideas within, inside of your mind, so you can do them in your classroom as well too. Again, my name is Ramón Torres. I'm the educator. School Your Brain, and I'll see you next time.